السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد سيد الأولين خير الأنبياء يا رسول الله. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: لو أقسمت لبررت إن أحب عباد الله إلى الله الرعاة الشمس والقمر أنهم لا يعرفون يوم القيامة بطول أعناقهم. Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem buyuruyor ki, yeminle söyleyebilirim ki Allah'ın kullarından kendisi için en sevimli olanlar daim.
Our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that I take an oath to say that the ones who are dear to Allah Almighty and who are beloved by Allah Almighty are the following ones.
Güneşi ve ayı namaz vakitleri için gözetleyenlerdir.
Those who are loved by Allah Almighty are the ones who observe the sun and the moon in order to determine correctly the prayer time.
Kıyamet gününde onlar uzun boyunlar ile bilinirler.
On the day of judgment, they will be known by their grand stature, and they will be seen because they will be made tall on the day of judgment.
Yani bu müezzinler vakitleri bekleyip güneşe bakıp aya bakıp ne zaman olduğu vakit olunca ezan okuyup da onlar Allah katında en sevilen insanlardır.
The muezzins are the ones who are most beloved and most dear to Allah Almighty, His divine presence, because they are the ones who constantly observe the sun and the moon in order to exactly determine the prayer time.
قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: لا يؤذن لكم خياركم ولأمكم قراءكم. Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem buyuruyor ki size en hayırlarınız ezan okusun. Yani o ezan okuyan seçilmiş insan olsun diyor.
Our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that the one who is the best among you, the one who is the most blessed among you, should be the one who should recite the adhan.
Ve güzel Kur'an okuyanınız imamlık yapsın.
And the one who knows and reads the Quran the best should lead the prayer.
Kur'an'ı daha iyi bilen o imamınız olsun diyor Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem.
Thus our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that the imam should be the one who knows the Quran the best.
قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: من أدرك الأذان في المسجد ثم خرج لم يخرج لحاجته وهو لا يريد الرجعة فهو منافق. Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem buyuruyor ki kim mescitteyken ezan okunmaya başladığı halde bir ihtiyacı olmadan o namaza geri dönmemek üzere mescidi terk ederse o kimse münafıktır.
Our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that if someone is in the masjid and then the adhan is being recited and then that person stands up without any necessity and leaves the masjid without having performed the prayer and without having any necessity to leave while the adhan is being recited, is a hypocrite.
Yani ezan okunuyor, adam camide oturmuş, hiçbir sebep yokken kalkıp gidiyor, ne abdestine bir şey.
So there's a person in the masjid and then adhan is being recited, and then when the adhan is being recited, that person stands up and leaves, and he does not leave out of any necessity. He does not leave in order to make wudu or to do anything else in order to perform the prayer.
Bir şey yok, namazı kılmadan o kimse münafıktır diyor Peygamber.
And he stands up and leaves without having performed the prayer. And our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, says that that person is a hypocrite, and that is the description of a hypocrite.
Başka izahatı da yoktur. Hadi bazen acele oluyor, insanın işi plan oluyor, ezan okunuyor, hemen olabilir imam geç kalacak diye namazını kılıp gitse olur da.
Sometimes you might find yourselves in a situation that you are in a hurry because there's something you need to do and there's a necessity that you don't have enough time, and then when the adhan is being recited, you may quickly perform the prayer, because if you waited for the imam, then things may have taken too long because there's something you need to attend. In those exceptions, you may after the adhan has been recited, you may perform your prayer and quickly leave, and this may be an exception, and there is an excuse for it.
Böyle hiçbir şey yokken namazı yapmadan gitmek onun münafık olduğuna işarettir.
However, if a person leaves without any excuse or without any necessity, while the adhan is being recited and without making any effort to perform the prayer, is a hypocrite.
قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من أذن 7 سنين محتسبا كتب الله له براءة من النار. Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem buyuruyor ki kim sırf Allah rızasını gözeterek 7 yıl ezan okursa,
our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, says that whoever, for the sake of obtaining Allah Almighty's satisfaction, recites the adhan for 7 years,
Allah ona cehennemden beraat, kurtuluş yazar.
That person will receive his redemption from hellfire.
Yani onun azim müezzinler şimdi artık Allah affetsin ezan okumaya da üşeniyorlar.
And this is the reward of being the muezzin and calling for prayer without wanting anything in return except the pleasure of Allah Almighty. But unfortunately, when we look at the muezzins today, they're even too lazy to recite the adhan.
Her tarafta birisi okuyor, ötekiler maaşlar alıp oturuyorlar.
Instead of the adhan being recited in every masjid and every mosque, the adhan is being broadcasted centrally, and all the other muezzins, they do not recite the adhan in those distinct places. All they do is get their wages.
Yani bu hiç olsa doğru var, şimdi ezan okunuyor her tarafta, güzel sesli olsun diye okuyorlar şeyde.
Of course, there's a reason why they centrally broadcast the adhan. They want to standardize the recitation of the adhan, and they want to make sure that everywhere the adhan is being recited in a beautiful manner.
Müezzin hiç olmazsa o vazifesini yapsın diye camide okusun ezanını.
Nevertheless, the muezzin should be in the mosque, and when the prayer time comes, should, in addition to the broadcast of the adhan, also recite the adhan in that place in order to fulfill his duty as the muezzin.
Yani bu Allah'ın rızasına kazanmış olur.
And this will be the means to obtain Allah Almighty's pleasure.
Cehennemden kurtulmuş ve olmuş olur. Yani Peygamber Efendimiz'in mübarek sözüdür.
And it will be the means for the muezzin to be redeemed from hellfire. And these are the words and the promise of our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him.
قال رسول صلى الله عليه وسلم من أذن 12 سنة وجبت له الجنة وكتب له بتأذينه في كل يوم 60 حسنة وبإقامته 30 حسنة. Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem buyuruyor ki kim 12 yıl ezan okursa cennet ona vacip olur.
Our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that whoever recites the adhan for 12 years must know that paradise has become mandatory for him.
Yani cennete muhakkak girer o insan.
That person will certainly enter paradise.
Ona beraber her gün ona ezan okuması sebebiyle 60 sevap yazılır.
And he will be rewarded 60 times because he recited the adhan every single day.
Yani o ezan okudu diye bir de cennette 60 sevap yazılır.
So he will not only receive access to paradise, but also he will be rewarded 60 times for each and every single day he recited adhan.
Ve de her ikamet içinde 30 sevap yazılır.
And in addition, for every iqama he recites, he will receive 30 times of rewards.
قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من أذن 5 صلوات إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه ومن أما أصحابه 5 صلوات إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem buyuruyor ki kim 5 vakit namaz için iman ile Allah rızasını gözeterek ezan okursa,
Our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that whoever with faith and for the sake of Allah Almighty and in order to obtain Allah Almighty's pleasure recites the Adhan 5 times a day
geçmiş günahları bağışlanır.
must know that his past sins will be forgiven.
Yani o da daha maşallah ezanın faziletleri, o 5 vakit ezan okununca bütün geçmiş günahları bağışlar Allah Azze ve Celle.
And this is very powerful, and this illustrates the blessings and the virtues of reciting the Adhan. It is by the means of reciting the Adhan 5 times a day that your past sins will be forgiven.
Kim de imanı olarak Allah rızasını gözeterek 5 vakit namazda ashabına dedi yani beraber cemaata imamlık ederse yine geçmiş günahları bağışlanır.
And our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, says that who with faith and for the sake of Allah Almighty or in order to obtain Allah Almighty's pleasure leads the prayer as imam to his community must know that his past sins will also be forgiven.
Yani ne kadar geçmiş günahlar varsa bağışlanır.
All whatever past sins there may be, they will be forgiven.
Zaten daha sonra olacak günahlar da yani kıldıkça bağışlanır.
And as we perform prayer, our sins will be forgiven, and even sins we commit in the future will be the past when the next prayer time comes and we perform our prayer.
قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من أذن سنة لا يطلب عليه أجرا دعي يوم القيامة وقف على باب الجنة فقيل له اشفع لما شئت. Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem buyuruyor ki kim hiçbir ücret talep etmeden bir yıl boyunca ezan okursa,
Our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, says, whoever recites the Adhan without asking anything in return and without asking for any recompensation for a year
kıyamet gününde çağrılır
will be called on the day of judgment.
ve cennet kapısında durur.
He will be called to paradise, and then he will stand in front of the gates of paradise.
Ona dilediğin kişiye şefaatte bulun denilir.
And then he will be told, now you have the permission to intercede for whomever you like.
Yani o kadar güzel bir şeydir bu müezzinlik yapmak.
To be the muazzin and to fulfill one's duty as a muazzin is such a blessing that Allah Almighty grants you even the right to intercede on one's behalf.
Başkalarına da fayda olur Allah'ın hikmeti.
So to be a muazzin is a blessing not only for oneself but also for others.
قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من حافظ على الأذان سنة وجبت له الجنة. Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem buyuruyor ki kim bir yıl boyunca ezan okursa cennet ona vacip olur.
Our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that whoever recites the Adhan for a year must know that paradise will have become mandatory for him.
قال رسول صلى الله عليه وسلم المؤذن يغفر له مدى صوته ويشهد له كل رطب ويابس وشاهد الصلاة يكتب له 25 صلاة ويكفر عنه ما بينهما. Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem buyuruyor ki müezzin sesinin ulaştığı yer miktarınca bağışlanır.
Our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that the muezzin who recites the adhan will be forgiven for the extent to which his voice is heard.
Onun için dışarıda okununca nereye yetişirse sesi oraya.
So when the adhan is being recited out loud, outside, then the one who recites the adhan will be forgiven to the extent that his voice is heard.
Tabii mikrofon olmadığı için mikrofonsuz da inşallah mikrofonla da aynı şekilde olsun.
We hope and pray inshallah that this also holds true when one uses a microphone.
Kuru ve yaş her ne varsa ona şahitlik yapar, eder. Kuru dedi taş, toprak, ahşap, demir, memir ne varsa.
And everything in creation, stone, earth, the ground, will bear witness.
Bunlar bir de yaş, ağaçtı, hayvandı, insandı.
Humans, trees, animals, they too will hold witness.
Canlı olan o da ona şahitlik eder o ezandan dolayı.
And every living existence will bear witness to the recitation of the adhan of that person.
Kim de cemaatle namaz kılarsa ona 25 namaz sevabı yazılır.
And whoever performs prayer in congregation must know that he will receive the reward of having performed 25 times the prayer.
Yani cemaatin daha fazileti o da büyüktür.
There is great blessing in performing prayer in congregation.
Yani bir insan bir namaz kılıyor, günde 5 vakit namaz kılıyor.
One may perform one prayer, but if you perform a prayer in congregation,
bir vakit kılarsa insan cemaatle 5 günlük sevap kazanmış oluyor.
But if you perform prayer in congregation, a single prayer will be the rewards of five times prayer for five days.
Sevap yazılır ve ondan 2 namaz arasındaki günahlar silinir. Yani o 2 cemaatle kılınan 2 namaz arası günahlar ne varsa onlar da silinir.
And when you perform prayer in congregation, and then you perform the next prayer in congregation too, Allah Almighty will forgive you the sins that may have occurred in between.
Bağışlanır. Kâle Resulullah sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem el-muaddin yughfar lehu madda savtihi ve ecruhu mislu ecri men salla ma'ahu. Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem buyuruyor ki müezzinin sesinin ulaştığı yer miktarınca bağışlanır.
Our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, says that the muezzin will be forgiven when he recites adhan to the extent that his voice is being heard.
Yani o nereye kadar sesi ulaşırsa, insanlara da işittirirse, ezanının işitip namaz kılanların hepsini kadar sevap alır. Yani bu nereye gidiyor sesi, insan ezan okunuyor, ezanı duyduk, o duyan insanın ecrini de müezzin alır.
So the muezzin will receive forgiveness and the blessings and the mercy of Allah Almighty to the extent his voice is being heard, and he will also partake in the rewards of those who follow his call to prayer and perform the prayer.
Ona da eksik olmaz o insanın ecri.
So the muezzin will also take share in the rewards of those who perform the prayer due to his calling to prayer.
قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم المؤذن محتسب كالشهيد المتشحط في دمه إذا مات لم يدوت في قبره. Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem buyuruyor ki sadece Allah rızasını gözeterek müezzinlik eden kişinin ecri kanı üzerine sürünen şehit ecri gibidir.
And our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, says that the reward and the blessings of the mu'adhin who recites the adhan is as valuable as the martyr who has died, who has fallen as a martyr, and whose blood has been put on his face.
Böylesi biri öldüğü zaman mezarında kurtlanmaz.
And he, when he is put into his grave, he will not be eaten up by worms.
المؤذن أملك بالأذان والإمام أملك بالإقامة. Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem buyuruyor ki müezzin ezan vaktini iyi bilendir. İmam da kâmet vaktini iyi bilendir.
Our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, says that the mu'adhin is the one who has awareness of the exact prayer time, and the imam is the one who has the awareness of time for the time of iqamah.
قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم المؤذنون أطول الناس أعناقا يوم القيامة. Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem buyuruyor ki müezzinler kıyamet gününde insanın en uzun boyunlarıdır. Boyunları yani en uzun olan onlardır. Boyun uzun olunca daha heybetli olmuş oluyor.
And our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that on the day of judgment, the ones with the greatest stature, the highest stature, are the mu'adhins. They will be the tallest on the day of judgment.
Daha kıymetli şarkı. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم المؤذنون أمناء المسلمين على فطرهم وسحورهم. Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem diyor ki müezzinler Müslümanların namazlarında ve sahurlarında onları vakit bildirmek açısından emindirler. Emaneti gözetenlerdir yani.
And our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, describes the adhan as trustworthy people who have been entrusted with declaring when the time for starting to fast is and when the time for breaking one's fast is, and therefore they carry a great responsibility and have been entrusted with this task.
İnsanlar iftar edeceği vakit tam vaktinde iftar etmesi lazım.
Because if you want to make iftar and break your fast, you need to break your fast not too early. It must be punctually.
Önceden ederse bütün oruç gitmiş olur.
Because if you break your fast before it is time for it, then your fasting will have been nullified.
Sahur da aynı şekilde geç sahur ezan okursa o vakitte sahurlarda olmuş olur.
This also holds true for sahur time, because if you if you transgress the time of sahur and eat after the time of sahur, then you will have invalidated your fasting for that day.
Oruçlarını zedelemiş olur. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم المؤذنون أمناء المسلمين على صلاتهم وحاجتهم. Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem buyuruyor ki müezzinler Müslümanların namazlarında ve ihtiyaçlarında onları vakti bildirmek açısından emindirler.
Our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, describes the mu'adhin as trustworthy people who carry the trust of informing the Muslims of when the right prayer time is.
Yani onlar emanettir vakitler.
And to inform the Muslims of the prayer time is a trust which has been entrusted to the muazzins.
İnsanlar sırf namaz bakımından da insan öğlen mi oldu, akşam mı oldu, ne oldu de bilmez. Ezandan dolayı bilir. Şimdi
because people are unaware of time. Is it now the time for Dhuhr prayer? Is it time for Asr prayer? And it is the call to prayer. It is the adhan that reminds people of the right prayer time.
Öğlen okundu, öğlen vakti, tamam. İkindin oldu, akşama yaklaştık, akşam oldu, yatsı oldu falan. Onu
It is through the adhan for dhuhr that we know that it's dhuhr time. It's the adhan for asr that we know that's asr time. It's the adhan for maghrib prayer that we know it's maghrib time. So it is through the call of prayer that we know that is the right time for prayer.
Onlara da hani sırf namazdan vade insanlar da istifade eder. Allah'a şükür.
And it is not only to the benefit of those who perform prayer, but it is through the call of prayer that people in general will know what time of the day it is. And even those who do not perform prayer, it is through the adhan they know during which time span of the day they find themselves in, whether it's noontime or afternoon or evening time.
Müslüman ülkede olunca her tarafta ezan sesini duyuyorsun. Ama
so we are thankful to Allah Almighty as we live in a Muslim country that we can hear the adhan everywhere.
Yani küfür memleketinde olunca dışarıda duymuyoruz Allah'a şükür.
But if you live in places of disbelief, in countries where there is no Islam, then we do not hear the adhan there.
Ama Allah'a şükür dergahlarımız, camilerimiz onların içinde olduğumuz için fazla fark etmiyor ama.
And we are thankful to Allah Almighty that even in those countries too, we have our dergahs and there are mosques, and when we are inside of them, we can hear the adhan 5 times a day.
Müslüman muhitte olmayan, tek başına yaşayan Müslümanlar için çok hoş olmuyor yani.
But it is not a nice situation for the Muslims who live in non-Muslim countries for themselves and don't have a community. They live without having the blessing of hearing the adhan.
قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تصوبنا في شيء من الصلاة إلا في صلاة الفجر. Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem buyuruyor ki sabah ezanından başka hiçbir namazın ezanında tesbih yapma. Namaz uykudan hayırlıdır deme.
And our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that except for the adhan that is being recited for Fajr prayer, there should be no modifications be made to prayer, and it is during Fajr adhan, there should be no modifications made to the adhan. And it is during the adhan for Fajr prayer where it is being recited that prayer is more beneficial than sleeping.
Bu sabah namazında yapınca as-salatu hayrun min nevm. Bu sabah namazındadır.
So during the call of prayer for Fajr, it is said salatun hayrun min an-nawm, and this is something that is special to the adhan being recited for Fajr prayer. For Fajr prayer, there is this addition where it is being recited that prayer is more beneficial than sleep.
Namazdan sonra salatu selam getirmek sünnettir. Yani emirdir ama bu.
And this should not be mixed up with the salatu salam that is being recited after the adhan. Reciting peace and blessings upon the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him after the adhan, it is sunnah, and it is not a modification of the adhan itself, because it is not part of the adhan itself. By reciting blessings and reciting and sending peace and blessings upon our Prophet after the adhan, we are living the sunnah of reciting salatu salam upon the Prophet.
Yeni çıkan selefi, melefi, ne derler, reformistler, onlar hepsini kaldırdılar.
And this is a tradition to recite peace and blessings upon the Prophet after the adhan, which has been practiced for a long time and which has been abolished by these groups that have just recently emerged who try to reform Islam, whether they're called Salafi or whatever.
Bir gün hadis oldu, onda burada yapayım, Şeyh Baba'nın hatırası olarak Londra'da ilk aldığı camideydi o. Yahudilerin havrasıydı, onu camiye çevirmişti.
And there is this story we would like to share in order to remember our blessed father, Mevlana Şeyh Nazım. in his days back in London, there was a mosque. There was a Jewish mosque. There was a Jewish temple, which Maulana Shaykh Nazim acquired back then, and which they transformed into a mosque. So they transformed the Jews' temple into a mosque.
Orada müezzin vardı. Şeyden sonra ezandan sonra salat selam getir.
And then there was a muezzin, and he was instructed to recite the adhan, and then after having completed the adhan, he was asked to recite salatu salam.
Başladı es-salatu hayrun minan nevm.
And then he started to recite salatu hayrun minan nevm. He was asked to recite peace and blessings upon the Prophet after the adhan.
Böyle artık insanlar onun için yani bu salat hayrun minan nevm demek şeyindir. Sabah namazına burada da işaret var ki
to recite salatu hayrun minan nevm is an addition to the adhan, which is dedicated to the recitation of the adhan during Fajr time.
Başkaları başka tayfalar, başka mezhepler, 4 mezhepten hariç olanlar bir şeyler katıyorlar ezanın üstüne. Onlar da caiz değildir.
And it is not permissible to modify the adhan, because there are groups, there are people, communities who act outside of the 4 madhabs, and they modify the adhan, and it is not permissible to make modifications to the adhan.
Onları söylemeye gerek yok. Allah'tan bizde burada yok, kimse de duymamış onları.
And we do not need to cite what they say when they recite the adhan, and we do not need to detail their modifications. People here, they don't know about it, and it is good they don't know about it, and we should not reiterate what they say.
قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يؤذن إلا متوضئ. Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem diyor ki bu da çok mühimdir. Ezan ancak abdestli bir şekilde okunur.
And our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, says, and this is something very important too, is that the adhan may only be recited when one has wudu, in a state of having the ablution.
Abdestsiz okumak olur da mekruh yani.
One may in fact recite the adhan without having the ablution, but it is makruh. It is not a desirable state to recite, and not a desirable action to perform, to recite the adhan without wudu.
Olmaz. Yani çünkü bu mühim şeydir. O kadar kıymetli bir şey müezzinlik.
To be the muazzin, to recite the adhan, it is so valuable, and therefore it is a requirement to be in a state of purity, with having performed ablution and wudu.
O kalkıp da abdestsiz okumak güzel olmaz.
It is not nice, it's not good to recite the adhan without having wudu.
Sadaka Resulullah fîmâ kâle kâmâ kâle. Ziyadet ilâ şerefin Nebi sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem ve ashabi kiram. Ve arvah cemî'l enbiyâ ve murselîn kudamâ şerâ'in ve arvah ümmetil arba ve ilâ arvah meşâikhina fi tarîkati Nakşibendiyyet Aliyye khâssatan imâm tarîkati ve gavsul halîfa Khâca Bahâuddin Muhammed ve Seyyid Bukhari Seyyidina Abdülkadir el-Cevâni Mevlâ Şeyh Şerefettin Sânih Mevlâ Şeyh Abdullah Fâiz Hasan ve Şeyh Mehmed Nazım Adil Hakkani ve sâir sâdâtina muslimîn ve men hafadâtehum ve huzûrihim Seyyid Hüseyin Hüseyin Hüseyin Efendi ve Refakâih Seyyidina Ahmed Mustafa Efendi cümlemin geçmiş araflar için şehit şuhada araflar için Lillahi Teala el-Fatiha.